Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. It's Karen here today. Today I'm going to share with you a collage that I've done in my Dilutions journal. My collage has been already pre-prepared, or I did it earlier, with a bunch of different collage bits and pieces that I still had left over from previous collages, and I thought I'd use them up. So I just stuck them into my book with some Liquitex matte medium, which I actually quite like the matte medium. It's quite nice. So what I'm doing here is just adding in some colour, and I've got my Jane Davenport watercolour palette in the brights. It's one of my favourites. I just love the colours, especially when you mix them all together, and you can get some really interesting colour combinations and new colours popping out depending on which colours you mix in together. So I really do love this palette. It's one of my favourites. Now what I'm doing here is I've got a little fan brush, and what I'm sprinkling on is a Schmincke. It's like a pigment powder. It says bronze, but it's more of a rich gold. And in the pigment powder, it's already got a binder and stuff in it. So all you have to do is just mix it with a little bit of water, and it just sticks to your page. It's absolutely beautiful. I love how golden shimmery it is, and the way that it pulls on the watercolor puddles is just amazing as well. So what I'm doing here is I've just got my heat gun, and I'm just blowing some of those puddles around this way and that way and over the top of each other, and trying to separate that pigment as well that's in those puddles, because as it dries it looks sensational. I absolutely love it. It's gorgeous stuff. I'm going to have to get some more colours, I think. So if you're interested in what it is, I'll put a description in the description box of what it actually is, and possibly a link of where you could get it from as well. I'll see what I can do. So now that I've got that dry, what I'm going to do is just spray on a thin coat of workable fixative. Now the fixative is just to help to keep my watercolours in place, because as we all know, as soon as you hit your watercolours again with something else that's wet, the colours just run. So I've sprayed it, and hopefully I won't have too much colour come through in my next part. So what I'm actually doing is getting out my Jane Davenport stencil, one stencil, just giving my page a quick dry and make sure that fixative is completely set, and I'm going to put my stencil over the top, and I'm going to do a sponge through of the outline, and then I'm going to do a full paint over. You'll see what I mean. So I'm just outlining where the face actually is at the moment, just to help me with some guidelines as to where I should actually pop my paint. So I'm just gently going over that, and there it is there. You can't really see it on camera, but it is there. So what I've actually got is Jane's Matchmaker paint sets, and I've just mixed the two colours together, so like the big bottle and the pale one, and now I'm just painting in the actual face. Now as you can see, I do have a little bit of colour transfer come through the paint, but it's not too bad. If I hadn't used the spray workable fixative, it would be so much worse. So I'm just going to get that dry, and then I'm going to go over it again just to help make it that more solid peachy skin colour that I'm after. So again, I'm just taking my Jane Davenport Matchmaker paints, and I'm just mixing the two colours together and then just painting over the top. So it's giving me a nice base to work on for my face that I want to do. So my fixative was still a little bit wet, so some of my paint is not quite sticking very well. So it's best to leave these things for a little bit longer than what I did. But anyway, it's all right. I was impatient. It doesn't look too bad. excuse me. So it's looking a little bit weird, but what I'm going to do is put my stencil back over the top, and hopefully I've lined it up too much so I don't have too much of a paint overflow of where her face actually is, because I'm planning on having the collage as her hair, because I really liked how the gold and everything all sparkled up through there, so I'm hoping it all works out okay. So I'm going to lay that over and line it up as best I can. And yeah, I do have a little bit of extra paint on the side, but that's not too bad. I can fix that up. So now what I'm going to do is I've grabbed another one of Jane's paints, actually. It's the purple, and I'm just going to sponge that back in over the top. And the reason why I picked the purple was so that when I add the other colours in, the purple sort of acts as a shadow already there, because I wanted to add in my own details into the face. So you can see a little bit around her eye there where she's turned. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a paint overflow. Excuse me. So I'm just painting over that cream with a. So now I'm having a think about what I would like to do next. So with the excess paint there, I've just grabbed my other little Dina journal and just put the excess into there. So I'm just going to quickly dry her off. Just make sure that she is reasonably dry, and I've grabbed a black pencil. This is a Faber-Castell black watercolour pencil, I think it is. So I probably should have grabbed something a little bit more permanent, but just for the outline of where I wanted to put most of my details, I just used this pencil. So it doesn't really matter what you use, I suppose. But with a pencil, it's a little bit more forgiving if you happen to put a line in where you didn't want it, because you can actually rub it back up. So I'm just going over those purple outline shadows of where I want her mouth, her nose, her eyes, and around the scope of her face. So the paint there that I've got now is actually a Paper Artsy paint. It's called Cloud 9, and I'm just using that to add in where the highlights would be on her face. So just on her nose, her cheeks, a little bit on the forehead, and some on her chin. It also helps lighten up the face for my pastels that I want to put on after. So again, with the excess paint, I just shoved that in my other journal. So I'm thinking now of where I want her hair to be. So I'm just going to roughly kind of draw that in, just very loosely with my black pencil. You probably can't see my lines there, but you will in a minute. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do about that excess paint? Am I going to paint her hair and have the collage background, or will I just go with my original plan and add in some extra colour into those bits where I had the excess paint? So I really am not sure what I was going to do, but in the end I decided to grab the Cloud 9, the Paper Artsy paint, and I'm going to paint around where I've drew in her hair. So you can sort of see her come to life a little bit now. You can see where her hair is going to be. You can see where her face and that is, and I've just blocked out the background a little bit more. But because I really like my collage, I didn't want to paint it over too much. So I've dipped my brush into some water and did like a whitewash, just to help blend it out a little bit. And I've also wiped a little bit off with some paper towel. And when I was doing the white before, I forgot to put the whites in for her eyes. So I'm just doing that now. So I've got my purple again, so I can put in the iris of, what it should roughly be like. So she's got funny eyes at the moment, but they come out okay. So lots of thinking and contemplating on what I'm going to do, but I knew I wanted to use my pastels from Jane, so I've got those out. And the little one there that I've got just doing her lips is the Velvet Pastel in the pale pink. I was going to put on the darker, but I decided not to. I've also got my Jane Davenport Magic Wand pencils there. So just to make sure that her face is fully dry before I start using my pencils, because I don't want to rip into the collage, I've decided to leave my pencils for a little bit and go in with a bit more of the black outline. So I'm actually using the License to Quill pen because we all know it's a bit of a four-wheel drive. It goes over the top of everything. And it's just helping me to add in those details that I want into my girl and where her hair is going to go. So you can kind of see that a little bit better now. Excuse me. I think I need a drink. Anyway, so I'm just popping in some lines there just to help break that up so you can see where the tresses are and a bit around her lips. So I was looking for my paint pens. There they are. What am I going to do next? Oh yeah, I've got another finishing line pen there, and I'm just drawing in some thinner lines into her hair, but they do kind of get lost along the track. So I've got my magic ones now, and some of them are a bit blunt, so I'm just giving them a quick sharpen. But I must have sharpened them a little bit too much because they kept on breaking on me, which is really sad. So, yeah. Anyway, these things happen. So I've got the 2 purples and 2 blues. So a darker purple, a lighter purple, a dark blue and a lighter blue, just to help colour in those irises, because irises consist of all different sorts of colours, so that's why I was using 4 different pencils. And I'm also going to use a bit of paint pen as well. So I've got the Storytime paint pens there. They're also from Jane. This is really a Jane product girl. She's full of it. I think I've used just about everything. No, I haven't used everything. There's so much. But now I'm putting in some of the shadows into my girl's face with some of the pastels and my baton blender. So I'm putting in some eyeshadow, some cheek colour and some shadows around her face, just so she looks a little bit more lifelike. Because I used a purple outline, I'm using the purple pastel as well as the 2 paler pinks. You can see me dipping in underneath just to add those extra colours and shadows into her face. And I really love how the pastels make everything so nice and soft. They're just beautiful. They really are. If you haven't got them, I would think about getting them. They're really awesome. So now I've got a aqua watercolour crayon, and I've just dipped it into some water, and I'm just adding in a few more lines, a bit more colour, especially around her face where I had that excess bit of paint, just to help cover that over. I'm also going to grab a mermaid marker in the bright pink and put in some extra pink lines. So it actually darkens up her hair quite a lot, actually, which is a little bit more than what I was aiming for. So I tried to blot some off, but it didn't quite all work. And then I lost some of my gold, so I decided to add in a little bit more, and oops, yep, I spilled it. Anyway, it's okay. So I'm just sprinkling in a bit more gold, and I'm going to wipe that bit there up. And before it completely dries, I'm going to help break up some of those big gold clumps that I've got going on there. So that looks a bit better. So now I've got another paint pen and I'm drawing on some lips. Drawing in the catch lights into the eyes, making it look a little bit more, I don't know, whimsical. It's not a human lifelike picture. I'm not that not that skilled. So just adding in some extra highlights. So now I'm using the dark brown that's in that palette as well, just to really pop in those shadows around her nose, her lips, on her forehead and around the sides of her face, and blending it in with the pinks and light purples. Adding in some more eyeshadow because she's quite glamorous, my girl, I think. And I'm kind of managed to muck up her eyebrow a little bit. You really can't quite see it as much on the camera, but it was really annoying me. So I'm going to fix that up. So I've got a little rubber, trying to rub off some of the excess, but that didn't really work. So I got out a little bit more of that pale pink Jane Matchmaker paint and put that over the top. So what actually happened was, you remember when I was first drawing and I had that watercolor pencil? Well, I managed to pick some of that up and smudge it. So that's how come she looked like she had a black eye. Well, she did to me. Probably can't, yeah, you can't really see it. So now I've just fixed it up, add in some more shadows, some more highlights, put in some extra bits around her face, put a little bit more of the black pen outline around her eyes, because some of the palette pastels has covered it over, so it didn't really stand out too much. So yeah, and then just popping in some eyebrows because she had eyebrows, and I'm drying off some of that water and the gold that's in her hair. So I'm just about finished. Actually, there's not a real lot more to do. So I've just got my white Posca pen, and just adding in a few, highlights, I guess, of where I think they should be. Adding in some more colour to her lips, putting in the whites of her eyes again because they went a bit icky. So making them all nice and white again. And drying off her face one more time, putting in those little cornery bits into the middle of her eyes, and I think she's done. So here's a few close-ups of what I've actually done. You can really see the gold in there, so I really like how it turned out, and I hope you do too. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.